Well, the words, there's too much color in that painting, rarely pass my lips. But in this case, they did. And I'm referring to this very blue area that I had here. The color was okay. It was sort of interesting as well. But it competed with the strength that I have here. And this is where I want the viewer to enjoy themselves. This needs to be supportive. Another thing, I had begun to fall into that trap of laying in little bits of detail here and there, and nope, don't like that. Don't like that. This is the detail, basically this line, and the rest is very, very, well, it has detail, but it's very soft. I want to maintain that. One of you guys commented and said it had an ethereal feel to it, and that's what I want. I want this to feel ethereal. I want it atmospheric. So I decided to go right over this cobalt blue, and I think there was a hint of burnt sienna in it. Maybe it was raw umber, I don't know. But I decided to do away with it and tone things down and not go too dark. I was going to go a lot darker down here. I don't think I'm going to go quite that dark because, that drop in value here, I don't want to fade it off into nothing. I want to still have a little bit of presence, but not much. So that's the gameplay right now. We'll see how it works. I'm not, I'm probably not going to finish it completely right now, but I'm gonna bring it to so close to the end that as I think I mentioned last time, the next time you'd see it, it would be done or almost done. I think what I'll do is cover the canvas. There's only this bit left. I know that's a bit detail-y, but it's not strong. I'm into the ultramarine blue, and actually I couldn't find any more raw umber, so we're using burnt umber, which is just fine. It works okay as a replacement. Not worried about it. Some people prefer raw umber, or burnt umber rather. So we'll just throw that in there. Hint of white. A hint of white. Actually, we can do that as well. Don't mind if the lines get a little softer again. We don't want hard, strong lines at the bottom in this case, because it is an ethereal painting. We want them to be only suggestive, nothing strong. I think our values are working okay there. Let's see, is that... Yeah, that's better. Lay it in, go over it, and that softens it up. But you still have the feeling of some rough stuff here, right? So, I'm going to call that happy. Just going to keep going. Just going to keep going with that ultramarine blue and burnt umber in this case, and a touch of burnt sienna. I have a fairly strong line across here. I would like it to dip a little bit more. That's okay. We'll cover this with paint and then we'll revisit it very shortly. Oops. Some debris in there. But we have so much of this going on in the painting. I don't want to, right at the bottom, do this. Yes, it looks like that at the moment. We'll get rid of that. We'll get rid of that pretty quickly. Just because we're using a knife doesn't mean we can't go over the same strokes. You know, because it's wet. I would like to form this. Form this with a little more verticularity. It's not even a word, or should we just decide that it's a word? Okay, that's the base laid in there. Now let's go to some raw umber, and I'm actually going to add a little bit of cobalt blue to it, and a little bit of white, because I want this to be a cold color, not super low value, but lower value. Okay, a little more raw umber, or sorry, burnt umber. A little more white. Add a hint of yellow ochre to it. That'll bring us more in line with this color. Not perfect. It's fine. See, we're getting that plunging down going on now. We'll add a little bit of alizarin crimson to that. Bring us closer to a purple. Sort of a dirty purple, not quite as clean as these purples, but in that neighborhood. And then just adding a little bit of variety here and there. Now for a little bit of yellow ochre. Some burnt umber, some yellow ochre. Residual ultramarine blue. So we go a little greener, we're more like this again now. Touch of white. Titanium white. And as we come closer, I want broader, stronger strokes. So why am I still using this little knife? For the final few adjustments in the foreground, I'm going to switch to this one, not this one. I will use this one for just touching up in various areas, which I'm not going to do right now. Oddly enough, this bigger knife is actually easier to control. Oops, that's too yellow. Let's go back to our green. So more ultramarine blue, more yellow ochre, bit of white, and a scratch. A scrape rather, not a scratch. Okay guys, I am going to back up because I can't see the painting. Yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. I think what we need is a bit of cutting into there. We need a bit of cutting away from there. This line is very centered. Let's pull it in this way. Not the line itself, but maybe just a couple of spots. Shall we? Like just like that. And maybe something like that. So you don't have this sort of all the points lining up. You know, this point and this point still bother me. So let's connect that. Let's steal from here. Let's be a thief here. Let's put a dab of that right there, and then clean it up a little bit. Smear that a little bit. I think that's okay. This becomes less important. You know, this ridge comes down here. Gives me the feeling there's some greenery in a crevasse at the bottom which is where greenery usually grows. Certainly after a landslide it starts in the ravines because that's where the topsoil ends up. Or at least in this case that's going to be my claim. Okay, let me give my knife a wipe. And back up a moment and see. Well, let me steal from there, maybe a bit from there. And cut into that. This little point of dark now was lining up with that a little too much. And maybe I'm fussing. You know, it's easy to obsess over the wrong things, and very important to know when not to. Yeah, you know, I think I'm going to call that a finished painting. There are some very, very, very small things that I'm going to do to it yet, but not tonight. You know, this line here I'd like a little more crisp, where this rock on the ridge meets with the fog. I may take some of this color and break it into here a little bit, just a bit. You know, we're talking about each little task will be only 1 or 2 strokes, but they need to be heavily considered, well thought out. And I do some of my best painting from a chair that I have in front of my computer, which is about 10 or 12 feet away from my painting, rather than 18 inches. Hi, I'm right here. Okay, we'll square it off, and that way, you know, for all intents and purposes, we could call that a finished painting. When I put the next canvas on the easel, I'll show you this one again. Now, there won't be much difference. There really won't. Because again, there's such small touches. And there's no comparison. Seeing a painting through a camera does not even come close to approaching seeing it in real life. It just doesn't. The camera cannot do it justice. Well, certainly not my camera. But see, there's a small thing too that kind of bothers me a little bit. These, you know, I have these 3 spires, and directly below them I have an indentation there, indentation right above the top of the spire, indentation very close to the top of the spire. I may just take this rock and from here cut it right across the bottom, negating that, you know, so that we don't have that sort of, it's not rhythm, it's becomes a little bit boring. I want it to be as irregular as possible, especially because it's so much part of the important area of the painting. Let me just loosen the camera up here again a little bit, and we'll have a peek. Oops, sorry. We'll zoom in a little bit, and we'll have a peek as we've worked our way down towards the foreground. Really knocking down the chromas, but still staying within the family of colors that are on the entire painting. See this little purple spot here too, that's a little bit too purpley for me, but those are all things. Last minute, last stuff, final touch, step 7, call it whatever you like. Whoa. Okay, guys. Talk to you soon.